Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, dig into them, and try to pull out the most interesting bits just for you.
That's the plan.
So today, we're stepping into a bit of a different world. It feels kind of ancient, maybe a little mysterious.
Definitely. Our source material for this one is from audio discussing some historical magical practices.
Yeah, and it focuses specifically on this medieval text, the Sworn Book of Honorius. Ever heard of it?
I have, yes. It has quite the reputation.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack the key ideas that the source presents. We're talking about, well, everything from a medieval map of the universe.
Which sounds fascinating in itself.
Totally. And it goes right through to what the source calls foundational skills for, get this, manifesting reality.
Okay. Manifesting reality. Big topic.
It is. So we want to see what nuggets we can pull out, maybe some surprising facts, and just make it accessible for you.
Exactly. We're exploring these, let's call them esoteric concepts, but specifically through the lens of what the source material shares, trying to understand the framework.
And maybe find some connections or just appreciate the worldview it offers.
Right. Let's do it.
Okay, let's dive in. So the source introduces the Sworn Book of Honorius, describes it as a grimoire, considered really powerful, sacred, even back in medieval times.
It definitely carries weight. And according to the source, there's a pretty compelling reason for that reputation, and also why it was so secret.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, those who learned from it had to take a sworn oath. They wouldn't share the information unless...
Well, unless what?
Unless the person they were teaching was, and this is the quote, about ready to go to the next level.
Wow. Okay. High stakes. And the source says that was mainly for safety, right?
Yes, largely a matter of necessity. The source points out, having that kind of knowledge back then, it could put you in real danger with the church.
Makes sense. A genuine risk. So the secrecy was practical.
Exactly. A safety measure. And interestingly, the source notes that even now, centuries later, the book is still described as extremely difficult to find, at least in its complete form.
Really? Still hard to get hold of.
Apparently.
Uh-uh.
They do mention Joseph Peterson's translation and commentary as like a key modern resource if you're trying to actually access this stuff.
Good to know. Okay, so what's the magic in Honorius actually like, according to this source? It seems built around a couple of core ideas.
Yeah. Two main things the source focuses on. The magic circle itself and this concept called the magical sevenfold universe.
Sevenfold universe. Okay.
And what's really striking is how structured it all is. The magic in Honorius is heavily based on this sevenfold classification system.
So like categories of 7.
Exactly. And it's not just random. It uses core ancient ideas about the cosmos. You've got the 7 classical planets.
The ones you can see moving, right? The wandering stars.
Those ones, plus cardinal directions, the winds associated with them, the 4 elements of, fire, air, water, earth, and even the old concept of the 4 humors.
The humors. That's like blood, phlegm, bile, linking body fluids to temperament and the cosmos.
Precisely that. It was a whole system for mapping the human condition onto the universe, basically.
Okay, I'm with you.
And in Honorius, this whole sevenfold classification, it serves as a kind of detailed map of the universe.
The map.
Yeah. And it's not just theory. The source says this map is the actual basis for making and using the magic circle when you're invoking spirits.
Right, and it's visual. The source mentioned illustrations.
Yeah, often illustrated graphically in the manuscripts, apparently, not just described in text, though the source does note that variations exist between different versions.
Interesting. So it's this complex system connecting everything, cosmic forces, elements, directions.
All linked together. The source actually gives some specific correlations from this map. It shows how different things are tied together for each of the 7 main regions or directions.
What kind of things?
Things like the direction itself, the humors linked to it, the element, the planet, even a specific angel in a name of God associated with that whole sector.
Wow. Okay. That's intricate. Can we look at an example? Maybe say the South.
Sure. So for the south, the source links it to the element fire. Makes sense, right? South, heat.
Yeah.
And the humors are hot and dry. The planet is Mars. The angel assigned is Carathiel. And the name of God is Eloi.
Fire, Mars, Eloi. You can almost feel the energy signature there.
Right. And the source adds a personal note here, which is interesting. They mention feeling a strong connection themselves to Mars's energy. They talked about seeing energy readings like Kirlian photography.
Oh, yeah.
Showing a dark red aura, which they link to the base chakra and this Mars connection. Just a little aside they threw in.
That is fascinating how these old systems can still resonate with people personally. So, okay, that's the South. How does it compare to maybe the West?
Okay, West. Totally different feel. The source links the West to the element water.
Water. Okay.
Humors are cold and moist. Planet is the moon. The angel is Hawk Royal. And the name of God is Theos.
Cold, moist, water, moon.
Yeah, completely different vibe from the hot, dry fire Mars of the South. Exactly. The whole system creates this like tapestry of interconnected forces, all mapped out directionally.
What about, say, North? The source mentioned something interesting there.
Yes. North is linked to Earth, cold and dry humors. The planet is Saturn, angel is Lenel, and the name of God associated with it is Christ.
Christ,
Yeah.
associated with Saturn.
Yeah. The source notes they found that specific connection interesting, saying they'd heard Christos connected with Saturn before in other contexts.
Hmm. Okay. So this incredibly detailed sevenfold map provides the whole framework.
Right.
And the magic circle is built on that. What's the circle for, according to the source?
Primarily, the source explains it's intended as a protection barrier. When
Yeah.
you're doing these invocations, trying to contact spirits,
You need protection.
exactly. The idea is to stop spirits that might have, malice or bad intent or just be mischievous from getting inside this circle, a safe space.
Makes sense, setting up energetic boundaries. But the source also mentioned there's another way some people approach this.
Yes, they bring up an alternative viewpoint. Some practitioners, according to the source, actually choose to invoke entities into their own bodies or directly into their circles.
Whoa, into themselves.
Yeah. The source suggests they see it as a way to kind of bypass what they call firewalls, using that as an analogy.
That sounds intense, a very different philosophy.
Absolutely. And the source is quite clear about their own preference. They favor the protection barrier method. Observe first.
Yeah, maybe dip a toe in before inviting something potentially problematic right in.
Pretty much. But they do acknowledge others have a different mindset, a different way of working with these things. It just shows the variety even within these practices.
Okay. Now, the source material seems to shift gears a little bit. It moves from Honorius specifically to reference someone named Franz Bardon, a hermeticist.
That's right, Franz Bardon. He's highlighted as a pretty significant figure in this area. The source mentions a few of his works. Initiation into Hermetics, they call it his magnum opus.
Oh.
Also, the practice of magical evocation and the key to the true Kabbalah.
And it's something from that last one, the key to the true Kabbalah, that the source really focuses on next, isn't it?
Yes. It's this idea of manifesting reality through words. The principle that essentially you say it, you create it.
Like magic words.
Kind of. They use abracadabra as the classic
Yeah.
example.
Huh.
But the suggestion is that at a certain level of, let's say, skill or understanding,
Yeah.
one can actually use words to create very powerful matrices is the term they use, like structures or patterns, even in the physical realms.
Manifesting through speaking, wow. But then the source makes a really important point about just reading this stuff versus actually doing it.
This is absolutely key, and I think it applies way beyond just magic. They really emphasize the difference between knowing something intellectually, reading about it.
And having the practical ability to perform it.
Exactly. You can have all the theory, you can read all the books, have, as the source puts it, the keys to all these codes and magical spells. But if you haven't done the work, put in the practice. If you're not, quote, ready for it, then you won't really grasp it or be able to actually make it happen effectively.
So knowledge isn't enough. Practice is crucial. And the source points to one specific practice as being like the absolute foundation for all of this.
Yes, a foundational skill. It involves two parts. First, getting to a point where you can completely clear your mind for several minutes.
Clear your mind. How clear?
The source describes it really vividly. Think of nothing, not even nothing, just absolute mental stillness.
Okay, that sounds challenging.
It does. And then once you've kind of mastered that stillness, the second part is being able to focus your mind intensely on one single specific thought, again, for several minutes.
Just one thought, no distractions.
That's the goal. And the source explains why this mental discipline, which sounds simple but probably isn't, is so fundamental.
Why? What does it unlock?
They see it as the necessary base skill, the prerequisite for developing all these other advanced abilities that often get discussed in these traditions.
Like what kind of abilities?
Things like mind reading, transferring thoughts or mental energies, even transferring your consciousness into other things, plants, animals, elements,
Whoa. Okay.
and also out-of-body experiences, astral projection, that kind of thing.
Stuff you see in the movies, basically.
That's exactly what the source said their initial reaction was, like stuff you see happening in the movies.
Ah.
Right. But then they mentioned that upon doing more research, they found accounts, historical and otherwise, suggesting that people have actually performed feats that sound a lot like these descriptions.
It really makes you pause and think about, well, the potential of the mind, doesn't it?
It really does. Which ties into another point the source makes, kind of bridging that gap between the mystical and the maybe scientific. They say, everything's magic.
Yeah.
It's science.
What do they mean by that?
It's this idea that just thinking something, on some level, gives it a form of existence, a reality.
Thought creates reality.
In a sense. Maybe not always instantly or physically. It depends on, timeline, frequency, physical aspect, as they put it. But the thought itself has creative power. It exists once conceived.
Interesting perspective. Thinking is doing, in a way.
Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of reality maybe interacting in unexpected ways, the source shared this little personal story recently. Kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
Yeah, it was just a curious little thing. They'd just gotten a new TV, apparently, and they were watching a Magic show on Netflix.
Okay. Relevant topic.
Right. And while they're watching, the TV input just spontaneously switches by itself.
Switches to what? Static?
No, it switched to play a Gremlins DVD.
Gremlins, seriously?
Yeah. Then the source said they hadn't watched it in years, didn't even realize they still had a physical copy of it.
That is weird. How did they interpret that?
They just felt it was maybe the universe talking to them. A little wink, perhaps? A nod to mischief or interference given the movie?
Huh, maybe. That's definitely a specific, unexpected detail from the source. Makes you wonder.
It does.
Okay, so we've covered quite a bit here. We've looked at this medieval grimoire, Honorius. It's a very structured map of the cosmos.
That whole sevenfold system, yeah.
The idea of manifesting reality through focused intent and words, drawing on Barden.
Right.
And this really strong emphasis the source places on that foundational mental discipline. Clearing the mind, focusing the mind.
That base skill being key.
So this brings us back around to you, listening. How can these concepts, from old grimoires or these esoteric practices described in the source, how might they connect to your own life?
It's worth thinking about. Does structuring information like that sevenfold universe map, even just as a mental model, offer you a different way to organize complex ideas, maybe in your work, or just how you think about things?
Yeah, does that kind of layered mapping resonate? And what about the source's intense focus on intent, and especially that core practice? Clearing the mind, then holding a single focus?
How might cultivating that specific skill relate to how you learn, how you concentrate, your productivity, or even achieving, bigger personal goals?
Yeah.
The source really frames it as the foundation for profound results.
It definitely highlights that difference, doesn't it, between knowing about something
and being able to actually do it.
Yeah, and how much that readiness, that focused practice really matters.
So we've journeyed through this pretty unique source material today. From that intricate cosmic map
To the power of words.
and the absolute necessity, according to this source, of mastering the mind as the base skill for unlocking deeper potentials.
It's been fascinating. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. The source material really suggests that these profound abilities might be accessible through practice, but crucially, only when you're truly ready.
So here's a thought to leave you with. How might actively working on those foundational skills, especially gaining control over your own focus, directing your mind, how might that unlock capabilities within you that maybe you haven't even imagined yet? Is readiness something you can actually cultivate, something to think about,